Before we get into the episode, I am thrilled to announce that the EntreMD Business School is open for enrollment. The EntreMD Business School is the only school of its kind for physicians who want to build 6, 7, and multiple 7-figure businesses. Over the last 2 years, we have had hundreds of doctors go through the school with unbelievable results. Some of them run brands, some of them run private practices, some of them are coaches, some have other kinds of service-based businesses or product-based businesses. And we've had people come in and cross the 6-figure milestone, cross the 7-figure milestone, cross the multiple 7-figure milestone. You will be in a place where you'll get the coaching, the community, the accountability that you need to thrive as an entrepreneur, especially in the times that we're in. So maybe you've been following me for a while. Maybe you've been getting so much out of the EntreMD podcast and you've been wondering, how can I work with Dr. Una and the community more? Well, this is your chance. Come join us in the EntreMD Business School. It is application only. So go to entremd.com/business to turn in your application. I cannot tell you how many doctors have made statements like this. I recovered my investment in the first week. I recovered my investment in my bank account in the first 90 days. This is the best investment I've made in myself ever. I want you to have that kind of story, not just a story of building a great business that serves a lot and earns a lot, but having a business that gives you the freedom to live life on your terms. So don't wait any longer. entremd.com/business. And now for the episode. Hi, docs. Welcome to the EntreMD Podcast, where it's all about helping amazing physicians just like you embrace entrepreneurship so you can have the freedom to live life and practice medicine on your terms. I'm your host, Dr. Una. Well, hello. Welcome to another episode of the EntreMD Podcast. Listen, I went on a trip to Fort Lauderdale, Florida. So I live in Atlanta, Georgia. And, I'm getting ready to get into a mastermind, and I'm really looking forward to the, 3 days I'm going to be here. And on my way, I was working on, the $1 Million Entrepreneur series, which is a series that I am doing in the EntreMD Business School for about 10 weeks to kind of walk people through end to end, the things you need to know if you're going to build a $1 million business. And that could be first million, next million, whichever. And as I started working on it, I was like, wow, I wanted to come share a few of the things that I had been thinking about. Of course, we're going to go into depth with this, when I get to teach the class, but I want to share some of the things that I think are so powerful that people miss. And it's some of the reasons why people are not really successful as entrepreneurs. So, one of the things that we're doing in this series is time management, right? Because, a lot of people are like, I don't have enough time. I'm a doctor. I already have, business that's working, or, I'm working so much. I just don't have time to work on my business. And I want to kind of walk you through some of the ways I think about this, right? Because no matter your situation, right, there is a way to work it out where you can create the time that you need to build a successful business, right? And so I want to talk about some of those. And one of the most powerful questions you can ask is, instead of making a statement like, this can't work, I don't have enough time, I can't do it, it's not for someone like me, you start asking, how can I? How can I create enough time so that I can work on my business? How can I create enough time so I can get my business to 6 figures? How can I do that, right? As opposed to I cannot. Because when you say I cannot, that's it. It's a final thing. It's a commandment, if you will, to your brain. And your brain is like, oh, the boss said we can't. When you say, how can I? You open this whole level of, possibility, creativity, innovation, right? So how can I? Powerful question. So I want to share a few concepts with you, right? The first concept when it comes to time management is that there isn't a one size fits all, right? You're going to read a lot of books. You're going to hear a lot of concepts. You're going to listen to a lot of people in different stages in their business, but there really isn't the way. There are a number of ways. There are ways that can be edited, and it depends, right? Like, think about like a radiologist. Like, when they're done reading it, they're like, well, clinical correlation is required. Like, you have to take all of it in context. Okay. So there isn't a one size fits all. So the other day, someone reached out to my husband and it's like, I'm trying to run a nonprofit. the way you're running a nonprofit, and I see the results you've gotten. I've seen how consistent you've been over the years, how you've grown and things like that. Like, what is the way? And as my husband was talking about that, I was like, that is a very interesting question because there isn't a way. Like sometimes we feel there's this one book that I read that will make everything better, or this one conversation I have. All of those things give you information you can use to make your best decisions. But there is a certain messiness to it, right? Because you're going to figure out what works with you. You're going to try a lot of things. And this is part of the reason why I'm like, you really want to have a bias towards action. You want to be this person who takes action so you can figure out quickly what does work for you, right? And so don't be frustrated when you have to try different things, right? So we're going to talk about, some time management things. You need to try different things. You need to experiment with different things. Don't be upset by it. Don't look for an algorithm like you would have on your PALS card or your ACLS card, where it's like, if this happens, then do this. If this happens, then do that. And expect that, like it will just be non-messy. Like if you think about running a code, there is an algorithm, but there is some messiness to it, right? Like, so I guess my point is embrace the mess, right? Embrace the fact that you're going to try things. Some of them will work really well. Some of them will work, but they'll require some tweaks. Like embrace it all. Okay. So there's no one size fits all, which means, learn and apply, learn and tweak, learn and try, learn and test. And so you can get to what works for you, what variation, what method, what combination works for you, right? So that's the first thing. And if you can get this, it's not just with time management, but it's with marketing, it's with building your team, it's with, your style as a leader and all of those things. You're going to try things. Some of them will work really well. Some of them won't work. Some of them work really well once you put a little tweak. But if you are looking for something that is a perfect guarantee, straight line kind of method, you're going to be really frustrated as an entrepreneur because entrepreneurship is like the ultimate experiment. Okay. It works out really well, but there's a lot of testing. So you got to be willing to test. Okay. So the second concept I want to share with you is when you're thinking about time management strategies, you do want to be crystal clear on the stage your business is in, right? If I'm at a stage where I'm running multiple businesses and I'm running, some are 7 figures, some are multiple 7 figures and things like that. What I'm going to do from time management is going to be very different from somebody who is trying to get to their first 100,000 or somebody who is trying to get to their first million or somebody who's trying to get to their first multiple million in one business, right? Like you have to be clear where you are because where you are determines what is the best use of your time. So let me give you an example. If you are building a business and you're not at $100,000, like you've started, you want to hit your first 6 figures, your first multiple 6 figures, you are going to lean very heavily on marketing, very heavily on sales, like very heavily. You are at that point where your obscurity is at an all-time high. Like people do not know you exist. One of the things you'll be doing the most is making people aware that you exist. One of the things you will do a lot of is making offers, like telling people, come work with me, come work with me. One of the things you'll be doing a lot is dealing with the mind drama because it's almost like it's the loudest at that stage. You may be at a point where you still feel uncomfortable talking about money. You're uncomfortable selling. You fall out, you're totally bent out of shape when somebody leaves you a 1-star review or someone tells you what you do is not good enough. So there's this, this transition you make, like from a physician to a physician entrepreneur, that is an internal journey. And that is part of the thing that you're really going to be focusing on in that stage of your business, right? And for somebody who is approaching 7 figures or approaching multiple 7 figures and they're trying to scale and all of that stuff, at that stage, you should have revenue confidence at this point, right? You know how to generate revenue. You know how to end obscurity. You have much thicker skin, right? You can take what comes with entrepreneurship. But then you have this whole team thing you have to figure out, right? Like before the 100, will you figure out, yeah, you can, but there's a limit to the size of team you'll need. But on this other side, you need a team. You need to start getting results through teams. You need to start getting producers and all of those things. So the way you manage your time will be very different because it's not all about you getting results. It's about you getting results through people, right? if you're at that point where you're like, okay, I want to hit multiple seven figures. I want to make the journey to 8 figures. Then you're talking team on a whole new level, because you're not looking at producers anymore. You're looking at people who are leaders. You're looking at leading leaders, right? And, so the way you manage your time will be different. But if you are going for $100,000 and you're managing your time like somebody who is, wanting to hit multiple 7 figures, and they're focusing on team, focusing on their structure, reinvesting massively in the company and all that, you try to do that 100K, you're not going to hit 100K. So you want to be clear, like, where am I, right? Am I at a point where marketing, selling, making that transition, that's the biggest thing? Am I at this other stage where, leading my team, training my team, and all of those things, hiring, firing, that's where I'm, spending a lot of time, because I'm trying to build this team that can take my company to the next level. When I first started out as an entrepreneur, I didn't even know what CEOs did. So I started searching Google, right? Like, what is the job description of a CEO? And I remember reading an article, and the person who wrote the article said that the job of a CEO is to hire and fire. That's it. And I was like, what in the world? What is this person talking about? Like, how can that be the job of the CEO? The CEO is, is supposed to, is in charge of, those who will market, those who will sell. He understands profit and loss. He makes financial projections and all of those things. I'm like, that's what a CEO does. Not until I got to the stage where I needed to get results through a team. And I was like, you know what? The job of a CEO is to hire and fire, right? But when you're starting out and you're trying to go for your first 6 figures your job is not, your number one job is not to hire and fire, right? Like, you have other things to do. So that's the point. You need to be clear, like, what is your stage of business? Because that determines what you are spending your time on. And the third thing, and I think I'll leave it here, is you want to be really aware of what is fluff and what actually creates results in your business, right? Because the thing is, as entrepreneurs, we are really good at filling up our time and filling up our schedule with things that make us busy, but don't move the needle at all, right? You need to be very clear. Like, these are the key things that bring me new patients, that bring me new clients. These are the key things that make patients and clients keep coming back. These are the key things that make people continue to refer to me. You need to be very clear on the vital few, the few things that bring the big results. And so, like, in EntreMD Business School, we have what we call the revenue generation framework, where we're like, this is what you do to create revenue, right? Like, when you're wondering, what do I do with my time? These are the things you do to create revenue, right? Like, because these are things that you must know, right? Because somebody can have 3 hours to work on a business, 5 hours, 7 hours to work on a business a week. And if they use that time strategically, they can get more results than someone who's a full-time entrepreneur. Because sometimes it's not so much the time that's available, but how the time that is available is being used. So especially if you don't have enough time, right? Like, you're still working, you're working a job, maybe full-time, part-time. You have the kids at home, you have little kids at home. You have all these other things going on. And you're like, I have 7 hours a week to work on my business. I have 10 hours a week to work on my business. Now, we don't need to fill that with fluff. Like, one of your favorite words would be no. Can you? No. Should you? No. Should I do this other thing? No, because it's not doing anything for the bottom line. You got to be crystal clear. Like, these are the things that move the needle forward in my business. So I want you to think about it. If you understand that, time management strategy is not a one size fits all. So I'm okay working it out and tweaking it till I get what works for me. And remember, you're evolving. So as you evolve, what worked for you before wouldn't work anymore. Like, you'd have to keep changing what your strategy is, right? So it's not one size fits all. You must be clear on the stage of your business. You must be clear on what creates results in your business. If you do this, then you become really strategic at using your time, where you have a little time, but you're getting much bigger results. Okay, when I started my first business, which was my private practice, I was working 20-hour weeks in the urgent care. And so I didn't have all the time in the world. And I did that because I didn't want to take out a huge loan. I wanted to keep my overhead low and things like that. But I had to manage my time, right? So the time that I did have, I didn't have the time to waste on things that didn't matter, right? I understood the stage of business I was in. My husband put it this way. He said, until you have all the patients you want, your job is to get all the patients you want. I was very clear on what I was supposed to be doing. I was scared spitless though, right? As an introvert, because, all of that marketing and getting referrals and all that requires talking to people, which, I didn't want to do. But anyway, I was very clear on what needed to be done at that stage. And, so grateful for the successes over the years. But I would love for you to understand these principles as well, okay? Because if you do this, it will make a huge difference. So I want you to take some time to think about it, right? First of all, embrace the fact that, okay, this time management thing, I'm probably going to be studying for the rest of my life and experimenting. And, entrepreneurship is a great experiment, so I'm up for it, right? So that's one. I want you to think about it. What stage of business are you in? Trying to crack my first 6 figures, trying to crack my first multiple 6 figures, 7 figures, multiple 7. I'm trying to get to 8. Right? Because that will determine how you're spending your time. The lower your revenue is, the more you're focusing on marketing sales. The higher it is, or the more you're focusing on producing, right? Producing. And, the higher you go up, the more you focus on producing through producers, right? And then you go higher, then you're leading, through leaders. Do you see what I mean? Like, so you want to identify, like, where am I, right? And then I just want you to think, like, what are the things that bring the results in my business? What are they? Write them out. What are the things I do that are just procrastination that look like work? Like tweaking my website for the 7,000th time when I haven't spoken to anybody about signing up for my services, right? It's things like that. But this is so critical because, yes, as a community, we're busy. And I think as a world, we're busy, right? And you may not have the time for everything, but you have the time for the things you need to move to the next level. And I want us to become really great at leveraging the time that we have to go to the next level. Okay. So I figured, hey, let me come share this with you. I have a fun series that's coming up, a fun class that's coming up with the EntreMD Business School. And I will say, again, the EntreMD Business School is really not for every physician, right? But if you're a physician who is, like you're an athlete or you're an Olympian. I talk about basketball a lot. You're like, I want to go for the championship. I want to build that business. I want to thrive. Yes, they're saying a lot of, businesses are not doing well. The stats don't look good, but I'm like, I'm going to do it and I'm going to thrive at it. I need accountability. I need some education, training, coaching around this, right? I need a community I can do this with. If you're that person, then the EntreMD Business School is for you. And I want to invite you to come join us. Okay. So it's entremd.com/business. It is the number one business school for physicians who want to build 6, 7, and multiple 7-figure businesses. Okay. That is what is happening. That's what we celebrate in the school. That's where we're going. And, it's a lot of fun. It's work, but it's a lot of fun. Okay. So if that is you, you know who you are. Turn in an application. We'll be happy to talk with you. And if it's a great fit for both of us, we'll be happy to invite you in. So this is what I have for you guys. What I would love for you to do is share this episode with another doc in your life who really needs to hear this. Because remember, this is our time as physicians. We are the ones building the most innovative, most impactful, most profitable businesses. And we can compete on any stage with entrepreneurs. We are the 1%ers. And we are shining examples of what is possible. Okay. So thank you so much for listening. Don't forget to share the episode, and I'll see you on the next episode of the EntreMD Podcast.
Hey, if you love listening to the EntreMD Podcast, I want to invite you to join EntreMD On Demand. It is my signature subscription program that gives you access to a library of business courses designed to help you do one thing as a physician entrepreneur, and that is to thrive. Just head out to entremd.com/on-demand, and I'd love to have you join us. See you on the inside.